It is time for Harold Hillman. He knows his stuff and is an expert in helping businesses through some pretty tough times as well. Harold, morning to you.
Good morning, Mel.
So first up, I must say, I heard a rumour that you are going to be one of these people who is bursting the travel bubble and you're going to Australia.
I am so excited about a trip to Sydney.
When are you going?
On Thursday. I'm going over to work with a team who I've been working with virtually over the last year. So this will be the first time that we all will have sat in the same room together.
Wow.
And when the ban was lifted, when the bubble was expanded, we agreed that I would come over, and I am so excited.
Have you got your passport? Do you know where it is? Is it not? Make sure it's not expired.
I've got my passport. I am eager to just go through the experience again, flying over water.
Wow.
Being able to take a nap.
Well, what is it? It's a 3-hour flight, Harold. Don't get too carried away. Well, it will be interesting, and to be in another country at the end of it. I mean, it's been such a long time.
It will be. Sydney is my favorite city in the world. And so I am really looking forward to it, not only to be able to work with the team for the first time in person, but also do a little bit of shopping, do a little bit, some fine dining.
You can duty free as well. I was listening to a story the other day. Duty free is going to be open for travel bubble people.
Excellent.
Which is, so you can stock up on your gin. Well, that's what I'd be doing anyway. Let's talk today, though, about dysfunctional teams, how to tell if you are on one. Now, what do we mean when we say dysfunctional?
If you think about, I often ask people to think about the best team they have worked on and the worst team they've worked on, whether they've been a member of that team or led that team. And typically when people think about those two extremes, the difference is in the quality of the relationships and what I call the connection between people across the table or across the floor. On a dysfunctional team, the energy is largely off-putting. And so, you may be on the team, you have to go in there, you have to work, but the energy tends to drain from you.
You feel like you've been sucked dry, like an energy vampire at the end of the day, and you don't get the work done that you need to get done.
Exactly. It has a direct impact on performance. Comparing that to a team, what we call a high-performing team, where there's a direct correlation between the quality of the relationships, the energy, which is more compelling, it pulls you in, it energizes you, and there's just a direct impact then on what the team is able to deliver. Dysfunctional teams cost businesses. They cost businesses in terms of performance that doesn't happen, but also talented people don't stick around long on a team that is largely draining them, where they're not actually getting any benefit from it.
Why don't we call it a functional team, like dysfunctional and a functional rather than performing?
I know. I try to do that, to make that a functional team, but somehow high performing just resonates better with people.
So what are some of the signs then of a dysfunctional team?
I recommend a book by Patrick Lencioni. It's the best-selling book on teams of all time. It's called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And it's a short read. You can read it in about 4 hours. And he writes a book about the story is about a new CEO who comes into a company. She inherits a team that she considers dysfunctional. And she starts to take them through 5 realms of what you want to keep your eye on. The first thing you want to keep your eye on is trust. You can tell if you're on a dysfunctional team because people are real guarded with each other. They're either all in shells where they're giving very little to each other, or they're all coming at each other with extreme force. But the quality of the relationships are such that people don't feel safe being vulnerable with each other.
I've worked on teams like that.
Yeah, where imperfection is a fault as opposed to a virtue. And so therefore, you can sometimes tell when trust is broken, people are guarded with each other, and there are a lot of meetings after the meeting. You have everyone's at the meeting, but then after the meetings, there's like 3 other meetings going on. That's when you know that
not a great use of time either.
Exactly. That I make the case sometimes that if you have a high performing team, you tend to have fewer meetings. There's also then a direct correlation between how much we feel connected to each other and our ability to push into tough conversations. Dysfunctional teams often have polite conversations. They don't go down deeper because there's heat there. And if you don't have sufficient trust, then when people disagree with you, you tend to take it personally. And so therefore the conversations tend to stay on the veneer at more of a polite level. There's things like commitment. Sometimes we all nod yes. But the reality is, especially if we lead a team, if you're on a leadership team, for example, you have your own team. And very often we'll leave that leadership team meeting and go back to our team and figure out how we're going to work around a decision that just got made. So there's often just a lack of commitment. We say one thing and we do another thing. There's sometimes on dysfunctional teams there are in-groups and out-groups. So the inner circle.
The cool kids and the geeks.
The cool kids and the geeks. There are, when you think about, picture 7 or 8 people around a table. They are a team. They're there to get work done, make things move. And there may be 3 people at that table who maybe have the biggest part of the business, and so they feel like they carry more weight. And those 3 sort of hang together. They may be core to the dynamic. And then there's others who may be in more support roles when I work with organizations in the corporate functions, if you will, versus on the line. And sometimes those people are peripheral. And so you end up having some people who are core to the energy and some who just are contribute when they feel safe enough to.
Right. So all teams to a certain extent have a bit of dysfunction in them, I think. So what's the sort of acceptable level of dysfunction to work with?
There's no perfect person, as we know, so that means there's no perfect team. People are people, and the dynamic on the team will fluctuate
and
around.
They change.
Around different personalities. Someone leaves, someone comes on, the team is forming again. So think of a team as a fluid dynamic that moves around, sometimes impacted by stressful periods and things like that. So there's always going to be some hiccups along the way, but essentially a high-performing team is one that is purposeful about its health and well-being, if you will. I call it a warrant of fitness. Healthy teams pull off on the side maybe 3-4 times a year to have a conversation for an hour or 2 about how are we tracking, where can we lift our game, what should we celebrate, those types of things, versus dysfunctional teams, which often are in a reactive mode around things that just continue to snowball.
Oh, yeah. I think there's a lot of people nodding their heads right now going, yep, my team is dysfunctional. So if you are on a dysfunctional team, then what are some things that you can do? What are the steps to take to make it a high-performing team?
I say to teams, when I'm working with teams, should be a no victim mentality there, and that is you can't sit on the sidelines, fold your arms, and say, "Hey, I wish you all would get your act together." By doing that, your very silence is contributing to the dysfunction. So what I would say is, if you are on a team where the energy is draining you, and you sort of suspect it might be a bit dysfunctional, start a conversation. Go have a conversation with the team leader. See if you can make it a discussable, not in the meeting after the meeting where we tend to table undiscussables.
Don't write it down.
Yeah, but put it on the table, just like you would if you think about, again, the fact that the dynamic across the table or across the floor creates that energy that is either going to pull you in a way that just energizes you or drains you. Have a conversation. Put your hand up. Say, hey, why don't we take a proactive stance on how we can be a more effective team and get others interested in it. And so I would just say, you don't have to be the team leader to initiate this conversation. You can just basically say, hey, can we make some time to have a conversation about how we're tracking?
And don't point the fingers and point blame. Just try and come up with solutions as opposed to going, well, you're not right. You can go.
That's right. Exactly.
Excellent stuff. Hey, Harold, thank you so much. We're out of time now. Harold Hillman, sigmoidcurve.com is where to go. Good luck. Enjoy your big trip overseas to Sydney.
I can't wait.
I can't wait to hear what it's all like. It's so exciting. Thank you so much.